Welcome to a bit of a different video today on the channel. Just sort of to say, a bit of a celebration video really, just to sort of say thank you for helping me get to 100 subscribers, which is I think a really cool milestone. So obviously thank you guys for helping me get to this position. And thank you of course, for subscribing, as I've said. Thank you for watching, the interviews. I hope you've enjoyed them. I've certainly enjoyed making them. There's going to be plenty more on the way, and I think I'm pretty proud to say really, since the start of the year, since I've been making these, I've been able to say that I've been able to put one out every single week, which I think is a really cool thing to say, and some cool consistency there. So obviously thank you. So to celebrate, I was gonna put a video together to say thank you and do something a bit different. So I sent out on my various social media platforms if you've got any questions to ask. So you guys you've sent some in. So yeah, I'm gonna answer some of them and give a bit of an insight, and thought just a cool little way to say thank you. So yeah, let's get into it. So first question, and that is, why did I start supporting my favourite driver? So if you didn't already know, I'm a very big Andrew Jordan fan. You can probably tell because of the car parts up there, but it's funny, I'm not entirely sure. I'll take you back to the first time I went to a proper race, being a British touring car race, which was Snetterton 2013. I'd been to Snetterton quite a lot, watching various. Often my grandparents would often take me to see bike track days and stuff like that. So I went to my first British touring car event in 2013, not even knowing what a touring car was. How crazy is that? With a family friend. So it was all thanks to our family friend called Matt, actually. So big shout out to him, who actually got me and then the rest of my family into British touring cars. So we went to Snetterton 2013, and he was a big, at the time, Plato fan. So obviously I quite like Plato, but I'm not entirely sure. I think when you're younger, you see all the cars, and always, I think for me, the blue Pertec, obviously the 2013 title-winning Honda was a great livery, and I still think picking a good livery is very important for not only sponsors, but getting fans and stuff. So that's a big one. So I think it just grew from there really. He had a great livery, as I think all of his liveries were absolutely brilliant, with Pertec and even his earlier ones before that. But then it just continued on, and then I was been lucky enough to meet him quite a few times, and it keeps on building. I started off as a casual fan, obviously, and the more sort of kind of times you say hello to him and stuff like that, I think that's grown. So I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, but it just sort of happened, and I became so passionate about the sport and British touring cars in general that just became a huge Andrew Jordan fan. And it's nice because despite him pulling out of British touring cars at the start of last year, which was a shame, but he did what he wanted to achieve in the sport. But it's nice because all of my family have got different drivers we all support. So to be fair, as nice as that is, it can cause quite a lot of tension on a Sunday afternoon, but it's all good fun. So I'd say that was probably the main reason for me becoming an Andrew Jordan fan. The next question is, what is my goal for motorsport? Now, as you may be able to tell, for me doing this, I want to go into sort of motorsport journalism, in particular commentating. I want to be like sort of someone like Paul O'Neill, David Addison, you see on ITV Sport, someone like them. So I'd like to be commentating on. I don't have a huge preference in motorsport. I'm definitely someone that likes it all. But in particular, anything in the UK, and in particular anything on the Toka package, to be honest. So I've grown up watching that for many years now. In particular, British touring cars, as you can probably tell, I'm a bit of a fan of. But anything like that, I love British racing. For me, in particular, I really like British touring cars, British GT. Formula 3 we've got as well, Britcar, GT Cup, all of these things I'd love to commentate on one day. But I would say the end goal would be to commentate on the Toka package for ITV Motorsport, and of course British touring cars. That would be an absolute dream. I would love to, another goal for me, I see that as definitely my career. A side goal for me would definitely to compete in motorsport at some some level, to be honest. You know, I think, as we all know, motorsport is a very expensive sport. You need a real sort of financial backing and sponsors, which at the minute is not possible. You know, I think if it was, I'd be going doing junior saloon cars or Ginetta Juniors or whatever. But you know, I'm pretty happy that for the minute I can focus on commentating. But hopefully one day I could go out and race once, you know, I've worked hard to get that going. But to be fair, having said that, I'm very lucky. I do lots of karting at my my local kart track Chroma, which I love. Part of their youth club there, part of their junior league. So I guess a short-term goal with them would be to be on a podium at one of the junior league races. Still not quite got a podium. I have two classes, an A final, B final. So a B final podium is the aim for me. I've come fourth and fifth a few times now. So it's just, you know, pushing that a little bit further just to get on the podium, which is a short-term aim for me. I've definitely, this year in particular, I've definitely noticed I've improved a lot in karting, and you know, keep on working at it. And of course, it's great fun. But yeah, they're sort of my main goals for the future. So continuing on with the karting theme, the next question is, when are we getting together for a kart race? So for some context, this is from Ty and Chris Cuthbert. You may have seen, I did an interview with them a while back on the channel. So yeah, you probably, if you're a fan of motorsport, they're also big racing fans, and of course stars of the karting scene. Concerning your question, look, I think if we're gonna have a race, I'm gonna need a head start. I think by the time I've got going, you would have already lapped me. But in all seriousness, that'd be great fun. At some point, if you wanna, you know, definitely if you're in Norfolk, come to Kart Track Chrome, and then it might be a bit more fair, being on a circuit I know quite well, being up there sort of a few times every month. So yeah, definitely. But obviously, Ty, you do a lot of indoor karting as well. So I've got to give that a go at some point and see how I am indoors at one of your sort of more local circuits. We obviously see you doing quite a lot there. But yeah, that'd be good fun. I'm just up for any race, to be honest. So yeah, we'll see. Next question is, how does it feel to be back trackside? Oh, it's brilliant. Of course, this is in terms of British touring cars. Obviously, British touring cars at Snetterton last weekend, which was absolutely brilliant. You know, I mentioned I went to my first British touring car race in 2013, and last year aside, I've never missed a race. I've gone to at least one every year. So yeah, it was really weird last year not going to one. And yeah, it was absolutely brilliant to be back trackside last week. Great to see the cars. You know, they all look brilliant. And yeah, it was good to be sort of back. I don't really know what to say, to be honest. It was so exciting. I was lucky enough to be there on the Friday as well, doing some media stuff, doing some interviews, which you can find on my channel. There's a few on there, and talking to drivers, that was great. Seeing the cars up close, which is something I've personally really missed. You know, having said that, Saturday and Sunday, obviously I was just there as a fan with the rest of the family, which was absolutely brilliant, something I've really have missed. What I would say though, just on a side note to anyone that's watching and going to British touring car events this year, especially earlier on, it is quite different to how it previously had been. I've definitely seen people moaning online about, because obviously the paddock and pit lane is all cornered off, and you don't have access to it, which, you know, is fair enough in these times. So it's all a little bit different. There's no big screens at the minute, but to be honest, you know, it's obviously not as good as it used to be, but those days will come back. And I think the priority is, you know, or the priority has been getting fans back, which we missed the whole of last year. So obviously, the priority is just being back and seeing the racing, which is the most important bit. But it will, you know, be back to its full self. I'm sure either later this year or definitely next year. So yeah, it was brilliant to be back and great to have a bit of normality as well. Next question is, if I could do an interview with a motorsport idol, past or present, who would it be and why? Now, this is a very, very good question. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, a big hero of mine is definitely Andrew Jordan. Obviously, big front runner in British touring cars, historic racing, rallycross, lots of other stuff. So obviously definitely him, because, you know, he's a hero of mine, and, you know, he's definitely been, you know, very nice to me and over the years and stuff like that. So he would obviously, as I'm sure you'd probably guess, he'd be one of them. Now, idol from the past, I've got to say Murray Walker, who we did sadly lose at the start of the year, which, you know, I was devastated about, to be honest. But he would definitely be one of them. You know, I think he's the voice of Formula One. He spent years, you know, commentating in F1, as well as British touring cars. He came up with so many great catchphrases, and you know, I'd love to, you know, get some advice off him and hear from some of his stories, because the amount of work and time and effort and how enthusiastic he was about the sport as well. That's what I think really is great about him. He put so much, as I said, so much time and work into it, and you can really tell how much he did love the sport. So he would definitely be one, and you know, obviously probably one of, if not the greatest motorsport commentator we've ever had. So he would, you know, he'd definitely be one of them, I think. And yeah, but I think we are quite lucky, to be fair, that he's got lots of stuff online that you can watch, various old pieces of footage from previous years, which is always good to see. But I'd definitely say Murray Walker. I'd say another hero of mine that I'd like to interview would be Jenson Button, actually. You know, I'm a big F1 fan as well, not quite as big as British touring cars, as you can probably see behind me, but yeah, Jenson Button was probably my favourite, and still is my favourite F1 driver, especially growing up. I remember growing up in the sort of time where or from what I can really remember, was when he made that sort of interesting move to McLaren after winning the championship in 2009 in that, you know, beautiful liveried Brawn GP car, which they only ran for one season. But yeah, then he moved to McLaren, and that absolutely brilliant Vodafone McLaren Mercedes, and that I think I would say is one of my earliest motorsport memories. That and the movie Cars, which I used to watch like every day. But the McLaren Mercedes from that era, I still think is one of the best looking Formula One cars. I'm probably nostalgia more than anything, but I can always remember watching the F1 at my nan's house, nan and grandpa's house, and I had this. I've still got it actually. It's really cool toy F1 helmet and steering wheel, and my nan would make me like an F1 car out of cushions. So that's probably a reason why I would love to interview Jenson Button, just for sort of the nostalgia and sort of being one of the first sort of drivers I can remember watching. I'd always remember proudly, you know, thinking that I knew all the facts and stuff, you know, telling my family that Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton were teammates obviously at the time. I found that, you know, very exciting. So I would say Jenson Button, you know, still a brilliant driver. He's doing lots of different stuff now with various GT racing. We were lucky enough to see his car in British GT last year, as well as stuff like Extreme E, which is cool to see. But yeah, I'd say Jenson Button for, you know, all that time he spent in F1, and he was, you know, definitely an idol for me growing up, watching F1 in quite a cool period of time, I think. Now that was sort of a double kind of question, because this is from the British Touring Car Chat on Facebook and Twitter, so definitely, and Instagram. So check them out if you've got those social media accounts, and yeah, definitely give them a follow or join the group. They're always doing brilliant stuff. And the second part of it was if you're up to be doing an interview with the admin team, which I'd definitely be up for doing. I've always said with this, I've never said it's only going to be drivers, or I'm just going to be talking to drivers of certain things. You know, as long as it's motorsport, I don't mind. I've enjoyed talking to like lots of different people, as I said, not just drivers, you know, various members of the team, people that help out. I find all of that interesting, and continuing on from that, really. If you want to, you know, come on for an interview, if you need sort of some sort of advertisement, if you're a driver to try and get sponsors or something like that, whatever I can do to help, you know, let me know. As I say, I'm all up for doing interviews. I'll leave my sort of social media stuff in the description below. But yeah, definitely, you know, come and get involved. It's always great fun to talk to lots of different people. So yeah, that would be brilliant. Next question is definitely a difficult one. Rate all the independent British touring car channels. This is from THM, who do other British touring car videos, doing sort of videos looking back on previous events in British touring cars. But you're definitely throwing me under the bus with this one. Look, I can't rate them. If I was going to rate them, I put mine mine first of what I enjoy watching the most. But I think we are definitely lucky at the minute with lots of people making lots of different things. Even Paul O'Neill, you could argue maybe not independent as he works for ITV, but he's doing his own thing. Doing in particular sort of season and race meeting previews, which are always good. I've got to say me. Obviously, Pitch are doing quite a lot as well. Who else? 2000s BTCC. I don't post too often, but they do. There's quite a few clips from the 2000s of touring cars. Various events in that. Who else? Elliot Webber does some cool stuff. Pitch as well. Obviously, they're maybe not independent, but they're always busy. And actually, to be fair, they've got their own TV show now. So it's definitely, there's a lot. I've definitely noticed this year in particular, myself included, there are lots of people out there, doing different stuff on YouTube, which is, it's good to see, because it probably, I think it probably changed people's perspectives when we were in lockdown and needed something to do, I guess. And to be fair, we are quite lucky these days that we all do have the equipment to do this at home, really. This is a pretty simple setup for me. I'm recording on my phone with a tripod and some lighting, so that's all it sort of does take, which is good to see. It's good to see everyone getting involved, and I think that is something that you can do with British touring cars. That is an important aspect of it. The whole point of it is you can get involved, and that's not just at a circuit with seeing the cars up close. This is the whole package, really. It's all about getting the fans involved, which is great. Next question is, what is your favourite race circuit? That's a difficult one. I've always said, to be fair, in the UK, we've got some brilliant circuits. I'm very fortunate to be just a few miles up the road from Snetterton, so got to say Snetterton's one of my favourites. It's a very difficult circuit, often provides some good racing, especially in that middle section of track, which is very tricky. So yeah, as I've said, I love all the circuits in the UK. Alton Park's a cool one, very difficult. I do love Donington though, and I think a lot of the drivers do as well that I've spoken to, that I've asked. Donington Park, I've still not been, which is definitely on the bucket list. Meant to go at the start of last year to the first British touring car event, but obviously that didn't quite work out. So yeah, definitely still need to go there. That's on the bucket list. And I'm sort of basing that off of obviously watching on telly, because it always provides good racing. But obviously I do quite a lot of stuff on the sim, on Assetto Corsa in particular. But I think from what I've driven on the sim, it's just brilliant fun. I love. It's such a fast and flowing circuit, in my opinion. I love, the Craner curves, and then going into the old hairpin, and then up the hill, and then into McLean's. All that stuff I think is really cool. So that's what I would say in terms of UK circuits. Circuits around the world, though. Zolder's a cool one. Spa, definitely. What else have we got? We've got some great circuits around the world. All the classic ones, to be honest. I think F1, there's some interesting ones, but I think, as I've said, the UK ones need to get to Knock Hill as well. Knock Hill is just such an amazing circuit, such a different circuit as well. It's so short circuit on the British touring car calendar. The cars are often going two wheels through like the various chicanes and stuff over the curb, so that's cool. So they're definitely my favourites. And final question: what is your favourite British touring car race? There's so many that I could pick from. There's so many iconic ones as well that I could pick. So obviously, if we're going iconic, I would say that I think everyone enjoys, unless you're a John Cleland fan, the 1992 finale at Silverstone. You couldn't script it, and I think that's the way with a lot of these British touring car races. Well, any of them, to be honest, because it's so exciting. Obviously, we all know what happened on the 1992 finale. But yeah, I think that's incredible. Obviously, 2011, I think it was, Alton Park. If you're Honda fans, stop listening. The two Hondas taking each other out, Matt Neal and Gordon Shedden on the final lap. Shedden had been leading the whole time, quite comfortably as well. And that the safety car had, pushed them all together, held him up, and obviously reduced that lead. Matt Neal on the final lap went for a move, couldn't quite pull it off, and they both ended up in the gravel. I think Flash did finish, I think he was about 8th, but still, that was, I think both of them I think I like because they're so iconic and so memorable in the British touring car, amongst the British touring car fans and in the history of it all. Now, in terms of races I personally like, I would definitely say Snetterton 2019 race 3 was a brilliant one, between obviously Jason Plato and Ash Sutton, who neither of which actually won. Obviously, I was lucky enough to be there, which I think the reason I love it, it was a great race as it was, but the thing that really just put the cherry on the cake at the end there was the atmosphere, which we were stood at Coram, the penultimate big right-hander which goes right round and into Murray's. So we were stood there, and we had the big television screen in front of us, so we'd been watching all day. It'd been a long day, long exciting day of racing, and yeah, we finished off the day with that brilliant race. You know, Sutton, Plato, very sort of aggressive drivers, and we definitely saw that. They were both aiming for their first win of the season, which neither of them did get at that meeting, but it was so exciting. And I think, yeah, as I say, what really made that race special was the crowd, and I think I and the rest of my family personally were all hoping for a Plato win to help get him close to that magic 100. And it was funny because I think there was quite a few Ash Sutton fans around us, so we were all cheering at different times, booing at different times, and it was sort of showing the pantomime of the BTCC. Obviously, it was quite a controversial finish when obviously they made contact going into Brundle and Nelson. But it definitely made an exciting one. It was funny going back to the paddock of the pit lane afterwards and seeing Ash Sutton and the Subaru team going off to go to the stewards and sort out penalties and stuff. So that was definitely a memorable one. A few other standout races for me that I always remember would actually be the first race of 2020, which was a fairly exciting race, in particular the first few laps when Ash Sutton was trying to get past Turkington. Obviously didn't quite work out, but I think that's just because we'd had such a long time without British touring cars. Another was Donington race 3 in 2015, because that was just a really exciting, typical touring car race with people going off and close racing and contact, which is British touring cars all over. Another would be 2016 race 2 at Thruxton, which is a really interesting one. Thruxton's always an interesting circuit to watch out, but that's really exciting. It was actually Andrew Jordan actually won that race, funnily enough, which it'd been quite a long time, because he didn't actually win a race in 2015, so it'd been quite a long time since he'd won a race. So it was cool to see him finally win one, which was good to see. I think that was another reason for it. And yeah, I think there's so many British touring cars have been going out for over 60 years now. So I think there's so many I've forgotten. I think one final one which I always go back to is all 3 races at the Brands Hatch finale in 2013, when obviously AJ won the championship. That was such a great finale. Maybe not so much in race 2, but race 3 in particular is an exciting one. And I always remember my first race, as I say. I always remember Sam Tordoff won the first race in that very quick MG around Snetterton. They actually got an MG1 too, I think. They didn't qualifying anyway. Andrew Jordan won race 2, and I think one of the Hondas won race 3. I have to double check who that actually was. So there I would say, I can't say I have a particular favourite, but I have lots of ones I like, and lots of I've probably missed off as well, because as I say, there's so many iconic races and iconic moments as well. And there you have it. That's all we've got time for today. Thank you very much to everyone that did send in questions, and thank you to everyone that's been watching the channel, watching the interviews, watching my preview shows, and thank you to anyone that has subscribed. It really does mean a lot to me that we've grown so much in such a short space of time. But we'll keep on building, keep on putting out new interviews, and next goal's 200, I guess. So as I say, thank you very much for watching. I've been your host, Louis Hedge. Thank you very much.